everyone. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, True Crime with Jess Rose. Okay, I'm having a problem because for some reason I've got a timer on me. And I'm not too sure what that means, but it's got 32 minutes on there. Is it only going to give me 32 minutes? I've deleted some stuff that hasn't made any difference. So I'm not too sure. So anyway, thank you so much to all my new subscribers and my old subscribers and my comments and my likes. Thank you so much. We're nearly at 500. How exciting is that? Get to 1,000 and I can start doing lives for you. Same as this, really, to be fair. Okay. If you don't know how I set up my stories, if I am talking about the victim, I will always put the victim's name and say story. So it's so-and-so story. If in some cases where a lot of the information's on the perpetrator, or there's more than one victim, or, you know, I try not to do it, but in some cases the way it can be set up, if I'm doing the perpetrator, I will put the story of. I don't know why it makes a difference. It just does to me. It just does, because I really don't. I'm not a fan of putting the name of the perpetrator first, but you'll see why I've had to do it in this case. So this is the appalling story of Erin Caffey. Oh, this girl. Right, okay. Now, I first saw this on Killer Women with Piers. I believe Dr. Phil has done a story with her as well. And then obviously I started looking more into it, and it's just horrific. It's just awful from beginning to end. It's just, it really got me, this one. So Erin Caffey, she was born on the 27th of July 1991 to Penny and Terry Caffey. And then they went on to have 2 boys afterwards, Matthew and Tyler. Okay. Perfect family of 5 from all the reports that have come out. They just appeared to be, you know, church going, church loving. They all had roles at the church, and Penny played, don't know what happened there. Penny played, so you can tell this isn't edited, can't you? Penny played the piano at the church. Matthew played the guitar. Tyler played the harmonica. Now, Erin, I've heard her sing, and she has got an amazing, beautiful, very sweet voice. You know, you don't want to say that, but she has. And so they were just growing up this lovely family. I mean, Penny and Terry, they were strict in the sense of, obviously, it's their eldest daughter, Erin. You know, by this point, she's becoming a teenager. Erin was attracted to probably boys her parents didn't really approve of. You know, and then they just started to clash a little bit. Like all teenage girls, all of them, especially with a teenage girl who's the eldest in her family, because it's the first time parents are coming up against that. I mean, the boys as well. Anyone who's a parent and it's their eldest, it's your first time going through those teenage years, and you've got this lovely doting child that will hug and kiss you and talk at you 1,000 times a day, to this stroppy Kevin and Perry type character. I say it because I was at a restaurant a while ago now, and you happen to see this couple walk out of the doors, and 2 very cute kids behind them, I don't know, about 5 and 6, or, you know. And then this other person walks out, probably about a couple of feet behind them, head down, hood up, just dragging their feet across the floor. And I just chuckled to myself because I thought, oh my God, this is what I've got to look forward to. It's like, he didn't want to be there. You could tell he did not want to be there. And it just, although it made me laugh, I was like, oh my God, I don't want this to happen. So we can all, if you've had teenage children, you can sympathise at that point. It would have been very, very hard for Terry and Penny. Now, Erin herself, we're going to bring it up to when Erin was 16. And very sweet girl, blonde, quite an attractive looking girl. But what I found most striking, she was tiny. 4'11". Like, she doesn't make 5 foot at all. She's a very small, petite girl. And I think this was played upon a little bit, especially with her dad, which you're going to see. Now, in late 2009, Erin was working at, it was called the Sonic fast food place, just as a waitress there, earning some money after school and stuff. And she meets a lad called Charlie Wilkinson, who at the time I believe was 18. They hit it off straight away. Very intense, as teenage relationships are. We've discussed that a few times. Everything's ramped up a lot more than once you become an adult or when you're slightly younger. So very intense to begin with. Now, Penny and Terry, Penny's 37 at this point and Terry's 41, I believe. They're getting, bad feelings. Like Terry said, it was like a gut feeling about Charlie. He just wasn't a fan. But obviously you can't just automatically say that. So they start asking around. They find his MySpace page. Don't forget, this is 2009. And he just had videos on there or statuses on there where he's, I don't remember MySpace. I don't think I got there. I think my first entry into social media was Facebook. But I presume it's like a status where he's discussing alcohol and going out and partying and stuff like that, as an 18-year-old does. Not an 18-year-old you want hanging around with your church-going, very innocent, you believe, naive daughter. So Penny and Terry, they're just like, no. They put a stop to it. They're just like, no, this relationship's not happening. It's not going to happen. So, of course, Erin was devastated. So upset about it, end of the world, as you can imagine. Like I say, very intense. So to her, this was ultimate heartbreak, even though it had only been a couple of months. We've gone into March 2010 now. So you're talking less than 6 months, I believe. A very short-lived relationship. But during this time, Charlie had given Erin a promise ring. So, it's all very, you're going to be mine forever kind of thing. Now we come to March 1st, 2010. Now remember, there's this gripe going on within the family. Erin's not happy. Charlie's obviously not happy. But Terry and Penny think it'll blow over. It'll be fine. Matthew, by this point, is 13. Tyler's 8. They're still this lovely family. And like I say, March 1st, 2010. Terry wakes up to the dog barking. And it disturbs him. Not for long, though, because the dog stops barking quite quickly. So he drops back off and thinks not a lot of it. He's then woke up probably an hour after that with a bang of his bedroom door slamming open. That is a huge fear, isn't it? The one place you feel you should be safe is in your bed at home. And all of a sudden there's someone in Penny and Terry's bedroom. and gunfire starts shooting, ringing out. Now, there's conflicting statements on this. I've heard a few times that Terry was shot 11 times during this spraying of the gun. Other things that I've looked at say 5 times. So I'd say it's in between the two. Penny also shot many times. Now at this point, Terry's on the floor. He said, although his brain was working, he couldn't move his arms, he couldn't move his legs. And to that point, he watched this person walk around. I think by then he realised there might have been 2 in the house. And stabbed Penny with a sword. I've seen the sword. It's huge. And basically was saying to her, die, bitch, die. And she was stabbed and slit so much in her neck, she was almost decapitated. And Terry, like I say, was aware of what was going on, but he couldn't. I mean, how horrible would that be? And it gets worse. Because then he hears, obviously, his daughter's in the house, his 2 boys are in the house. There's this fear, he's just seen what's happened to his wife. And then all of a sudden he hears his son Matthew, who's 13, shouting, "No, Charlie, no, why are you doing this?" And then he hears a gunshot. And he realises then who it is. It's Charlie Wilkinson, his daughter's supposed ex-boyfriend. So he knows this, he realises this. In his mind, he still knows that his kids are out there. He doesn't know the extent to Matthew's been shot. Tyler's out there, Erin's out there. And he can't move. He's been shot so many times. He's been shot in his head. He's been shot in his face. He's been shot in his arms. This man can't move. He manages to drag himself into his hallway. And I think the way their house was laid out, the kids' bedrooms were upstairs, whether there was 2 flights, I'm not sure, 3 flights. All of a sudden he smells smoke. And he realises as he looks, he can't get up there. But he knows he's got to get to somebody. He's got to tell them who's done this. That was what was going on in his brain at the time. Can you imagine the amount of thoughts and how scrambled your brain would be at this moment in time? So he basically crawls 4 football fields, the distance was, to his neighbour's house, and lets them, when he gets there, the neighbour obviously phones the police straight away, and you hear the phone call between the neighbour and the operator, and she's like, where's he bleeding from? And the neighbour's like, where isn't he bleeding from? You need to get here, I believe there's a fire as well. No one really knows exactly what's gone on. So when the police get there, they rush Terry off straight away into surgery. Now, when the fire brigade, I'm not so sure what it's called in America, fire service, when they get there to the house, they discover the bodies of Penny, Matthew, and Tyler. Now, Tyler was in a closet. And what had happened was Matthew, after saying Charlie no, was shot in the face. He was 13 years old. And he was shot in the face. Now, there was 2 boys there. there was 2 lads in that house. Terry was right. There was Charlie Wilkinson, and there was Charlie Wilkinson's friend called Charles Wade. I believe he was 20. And when they were looking for Tyler, because obviously they knew there was another brother in the house, Tyler had run to Erin's closet and he was hiding in there. He's 8 years old. And when they get there, the gun jams. So they stab him. They take turns stabbing him in the back of the neck. I think he got stabbed 3 times. Then they go downstairs. There's a lockbox with money in it. They grab that. They get lighter fluid and setting fire to some clothes and some furniture. I mean, with the lighter fluid, they set fire to the house and they leave. Now, when Terry comes round from his surgery, because now bearing in mind they don't know that Terry would have got out. When Terry, now you might be wondering, where's Erin? I'm getting to it. When Terry comes round, he says straight away it was Charlie Wilkinson. That's who's done this. He's told his daughter hasn't been found yet. So, although he's had to hear that his wife and his 2 sons are dead. And I think the most heartbreaking thing is, I believe there was smoke found in the boys' lungs. I'm not too sure about Penny, but I think the boys' lungs. It means they were alive when the fire was set. They might not have been conscious, but they inhaled smoke. This poor family were just asleep in bed on a March evening. Oh. So Terry's given some sort of hope in the fact that Erin's not there. She hasn't been found, which is very short-lived. When they go round to find Charlie, who had been stopping at Charles Wade's, the other lad, Charles Wade's brother's trailer. When they get there, they find Charlie Wilkinson. They find Charles Wade. They find Bobby Johnson, who is Charles Wade's girlfriend. She's also 18, same as Charlie. And they grab them all straight away. But Charlie didn't have, I think he didn't have a t-shirt on or something. So one of the officers goes back into the trailer and he's reaching down and he sees what he thinks like a teddy or something, and he grabs it and it's actually a handful of blonde hair. And underneath this pile of clothes is Erin Caffey. And when she looks up at the officer, he said she looked a bit blank. She's staring at him. She was like, where am I? What's going on? And her version of events is, you know, I smelt smoke. That's all I remember. And next thing you know, I'm here and I'm being given a drink. And now I've woke her. So the pretense is she's been kidnapped and drugged. Okay? So when the 3... So she's taken to hospital, Erin is. And of course, Terry, he's going through so many emotions. He's nearly died. He's lost his wife and his 2 sons. But he hears that his daughter has been found safe and well. And, you know, he's so happy about it. He's happy about that. It must have just been such a mixture of emotions for him. But when Charlie, Charles and Bobby are brought in for questioning, you can see the interrogations. When they're brought in, all three say it was Erin's idea. She egged this on. And the police are like, hang on a minute, stop. The boys admit to what they did. They said yes, but from the moment Erin had been told she couldn't see Charlie anymore, she said, I want them dead. We need to kill my parents. She wasn't going to do it, by the way, but she wanted him to do it. And in turn, he spoke to Charles and says, there's some money in a Dropbox. I presume it's like a safe. And Erin's going to tell us where it is, and I'll give you $2,000 out of it. Bobby, which is Charles's girlfriend, was roped in to drive them. And basically, on that night of the 1st of March 2010, there was 13 calls placed, between Erin and Charlie. And it consisted of her asking them when they were coming, because this plan had been made a week beforehand, but Terry's dad had died, Erin's granddad. So she gave him a week to mourn his dad. The calls were made, and when Charlie and Charles went to enter the house, the dog started barking. Do you remember mentioning the dog that had awoke Terry at the time? Oh, Erin sorted that out. She quietened her dog down. So she was phoning them again. Come back, it's fine. I've quietened the dog down. Just come back, we're ready. I'm going to do it, come back. So when the car pulled up, Erin comes running out with no shoes on, nothing, no suitcase that she said was packed in her house, but she didn't bring it out with her. And the four of them went to a cemetery and sat round for an hour while the other three were saying to, and especially Charlie, apparently was saying, let's just run, let's just go, let's just run away. Let's get your suitcase and let's go. She was like, no, they'll find me. So we're going to go through with it. So they drive back to the house. Erin sees the sword. She sees the gun. Sorry, they both had guns. She watched them walk into the house. She watched them run back out as the smoke is starting to come out of the home. And she said she could see the red of the fire. And they testified that as they were driving off, she said that was awesome. And just before the lads had gone into the house, so they'd been at the cemetery, they'd driven back to the family home, they were all still umming and ahhing, all of them, the other three saying, no, let's just run, let's just leave it. She was like, just do it. And there was the go-ahead. And so they did. Charles, believing he was going to get £2,000 to split with his girlfriend. Charlie was going to go off into the sunset with his girlfriend. And when the lad said, Charlie and Charles said to Erin, we're going to have to kill your brothers because we don't want witnesses, she was just like, okay. They're mean to me anyway. They bully me. Her younger brothers. And leading up to this, she'd been telling them that her mum had been beating her and not being nice to her and was just being vile to her. So in their mind, her mum, her dad not much better, her brothers, she's got this awful life. She's been feeding them this for a while. She's been putting this in their head for a while. So in their mind, they're not hurting innocent people. They're hurting these this evil family that are torturing this young, naive, petite little girl. I mean, so a criminal therapist, once they'd brought in Erin, because don't forget with Terry, his elation was very short-lived on finding out that Erin was alive, when he was told very shortly after that actually we think she not only was involved but was the driving force behind what happened. When Erin was interviewed by a criminal therapist, the therapist actually said, "I've never come across anyone as dangerous as Erin Caffey. Anyone." She's 4'11". I know size doesn't matter, I know, but you've got to see this girl. And what I'm telling you doesn't compute with. It's just, it was like the story that I'd done it a while ago now, Murdered by My Daughter. You know, it's very similar scenario over a boyfriend. Mum didn't like him. Very similar scenario. Also murdered her sibling. Also didn't get her hands dirty either. These girls. Remember I said I'd first seen it on Piers Morgan Killer Women. He actually said she's the most evil woman he's ever met, and that he felt he was looking into the face of evil. I mean, she sang Amazing Grace to him when he first got there, and you know, it was just this angelic voice and this angelic girl, and you just, the devastation that she caused. Now, Erin herself always denied that this was the cat. Well, she denied it at first. She's never fully admitted it, but at first it was like, no, they're lying. Then eventually started saying, you know, it wasn't me, I was manipulated, it wasn't my fault. You know, he was telling me we had to do this. So she was going along that route. The older boyfriend, who was so much bigger than me, and these people, and I was scared. Whole shebang. And this is what she was telling her dad. Now, her dad, Terry, was so angry at the time, not at his daughter, obviously, that he wanted Charlie and Charles to die. He wanted the death penalty gone after. Given the fact, I don't know if it is when he realised how involved his daughter was, or just how forgiving this man is as a person, but he very quickly wanted that taken back off the table. He didn't want the death penalty pursued. And I just, yeah, you know, I've seen so many interviews with this man, Terry Caffey, and he's just, your heart aches for him. His whole family gone. So, Erin, like I say, would have continued this course of denial if, purely by chance, an ex-boyfriend of hers came forward, and his name was Michael Washburn. He said she said the same to him. Parents didn't really like him. I think they just wanted, maybe there was a certain type of lad they wanted to meet, or maybe they just thought she was too young, but they didn't like this fella either, really. And she came to his home and said she wanted her family dead. And his words, so this is what he actually says. He says, "You crazy bitch, get the hell out of my house." That should be a normal reaction, to be honest. I don't think they were together very long, so a lot of feelings weren't involved, certainly from his point of view. So he found it very easy to throw her out of his house. And he never saw her again. He completely distanced himself from this girl. Like he said, crazy bitch, want nothing to do with her. Obviously, Charlie, it was a longer relationship. They were intense. They were full in. And just the same scenario again, but he was more than willing participant. You know, it won't be taken away from what they did. The boys, they decapitated, almost decapitated her mum. They thought they'd killed her dad. They shot her brother in the face and stabbed her other one with a samurai sword 3 times as he hid in a closet, scared out of his mind. Now, Charlie Wilkinson was found guilty, obviously, and given life without parole. Charles Wade was also given life without parole. Bobby Johnson, Charles's girlfriend, she was given a minimum of 24 years. I think it was 40 years to run concurrently, but she'll do a minimum of 24. Now, Erin herself, now she will do a minimum of 42 years. So she'll be eligible for parole in 2038. She'll be 59 years old at that time. I believe this year, 2022, I think she'll be 31. And I've seen a couple of interviews with her. She didn't give many at the beginning, but she's given a couple since. And there's just, they say, not so much psychopath, but definitely a social disorder. She's so detached from what she did. You know, she cries every now and again during the interview, but I found very self-pitying crying. You know, and even to this day, as far as I'm aware, she hasn't fully admitted her involvement to her dad. And he's continuing to believe that she was just this innocent young girl who, although she did what she did and had that involvement, in his mind, she wanted to run away, and it was them that wanted to carry this out. You know, he won't believe she was the driving force behind this. So Terry Caffey has chosen to forgive Erin, and he visits her regularly. Now, she wrote a letter to Terry that was read out. I think it was on Dr.